Motivation killed my drive, and this is what exactly brought it back. Pro tip, watch this on double speed if you want to save time, and I won't waste any more. Let's get right into it. First, you need to understand that your brain is fried. And you know this, right? Because you can't focus, you can't finish your task, and you can't even get yourself to sit still for longer than 10, 15 minutes, right? And it's not that you're broken, it's that your dopamine system does not function, right? Because your brain has been rewired by this constant scrolling, this overstimulation, all the junk food, the endless inputs that are going inside. And again, most people are trying to come out of this. Most people are trying to be disciplined, but it's kind of impossible when you have a fried circuit board, right? When the neural pathways in your head are only going to the dopamine. Oh, I have to scroll, I have to open TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Shorts, Reels, all these things, right? Well, it's impossible to focus on the things that genuinely matter, the things that are genuinely going to move you forward and allow you to achieve the life that you want to live. But allow me to show you how exactly you can reset and rebuild that motivation from the source. So understand that the solution here is not going to be more willpower. So no, willpower is not going to save your brain when you get stimulated. And again, it's not that you're lazy either. You're just looped into these high dopamine inputs. Again, you get bored, you feel stressed, whatever the case is, whatever the trigger is that causes you to carry out an action. That action is usually something that allows you to escape from that feeling of boredom or that feeling of stress, whether that be scrolling, junk food, video games, Netflix, whatever the case is, right? It caused you to go to that thing. And then your brain received the signal in your head, okay, that helped me escape. This is a good action. I'm going to do it again. Next time you feel bored, next time you feel stressed, congratulations. You've trapped yourself in an infinite feedback loop. We can paint it out. Right, again, there's the trigger. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Right, trigger, whether that's like boredom, anxiety, not knowing what to do, right? And once that trigger hits, you carry out the action. Right, and this action is going to be, dopamine, plus, right, feels good, whatever the case is. Then that, leads you to getting a reward. Dopamine would be over here. An action, this would be something like TikTok, scrolling, etc. Right, now this reward is, that dopamine chemical, right? You get dopamine, positive. And now that it registers in your brain, right? Your brain is now connected this trigger with this action, with this reward. So now it sees this as something successful. It sees this as something that it needs to do, which will cause you to repeat the cycle. Right? Because now, again, your brain is like associated this trigger with this reward, and thus it's going to keep carrying out that sequence of events over and over again because it is something that is seen as successful, right? And most of your energy is leaking back into these cheap rewards. But once you fix that system, once you change that loop to something that leads to achieving your goals, then your focus will return naturally and you will naturally become the person that you want to be. Right. And understand, again, fixing that system will return this natural, and you don't need more motivation either. What you need is to reset your dopamine. So, which leads me to the rewire ritual, a 7-step process that I created that I follow myself that allowed me to completely change my life, to go from constantly distracted, hours upon hours watching anime, playing video games, scrolling TikTok, Instagram Reels, literally just wasting time, to being able to grow my personal brand to over almost like 80,000 people, to be able to grow my YouTube channel, make my first money online, getting the best physique of my life. I was able to accomplish so much because I was able to fix my focus. And everything that I talk about in this video, I go more in depth on in my program, Frictionless Focus. Click the first link in the description if you're interested. So here's step one, right? First, you need to cut out the high dopamine junk. What is high dopamine junk? Well, here's the TikTok, the endless reels, YouTube rabbit holes, right? Everything that is leading you to this stage of dopamine, overload, right? And then there's the snacks as well, the pornography, the constant novelty, right? Your brain is getting desensitized to these high levels of dopamine, right? The thing about dopamine is that, the level that you're consuming it at is never going to be enough. You're constantly going to seek more. Right? At first, you're able to, be good with 5 minutes of scrolling, but then it's 10. Then it's 15 minutes, 20. Then you can't feel anything until after you scrolled for like 2 hours. It's the same with video games. It's the same with YouTube, right? You're going to constantly seek more, leading you deeper and deeper into this pit of dopamine, making it almost impossible for you to get out. And then You become numb to real life, right? Real rewards, deep focus, it doesn't feel as stimulating anymore, right? Again, it's because once your dopamine hits that high level of this constant stimulation, your baseline dopamine, it's very high, and doing the things that in real life, real rewards that require actual effort, your brain isn't going to want to do them because it's below your baseline of dopamine. But if you're able to cut the source, if you can cut it at its source, remove it completely, that is when you're able to regain clarity, right? And it's very simple to do. You want to start with 24 hours, then you want to extend it. You want to feel the withdrawal, go through the pain, go through the boredom. You want to feel this feeling because this is the start of your progress. This is the start of your success. This is proof that you're actually getting somewhere. This is proof that you're resetting your dopamine so that you can actually make progress and achieve your goals. And step two is you need to embrace boredom daily. So what does that look like? You need to sit still for 10 to 20 minutes, right? That means no phone, no inputs, no music, no podcast, no nothing, just you and your thoughts, right? Because boredom is that reset button for your dopamine system. Because through boredom, you will gradually lower your baseline level of dopamine to the point where it's below all the things that bring you genuine fulfillment and genuine progress. Once your baseline dopamine is below, the focused work, the exercise, the reading, the getting things done, those things are going to appear fun. And we can paint this out, right? So you want to imagine your dopamine, like it's on this graph here, right? And when you are constantly stimulating yourself, your dopamine, it starts off right here, right? Baseline. But then it'll go all the way up here through the constant stimulation, the social media, all that stuff. And then, it'll be at this level up here. And the thing about that is the stuff that you'll find up here, things like social media, TikTok, anime, video games, junk food, all these things, right? Right, all this mindless dopamine is what you'll find up here. And the reason this is so detrimental to your success is because the things that you actually need to do to make progress, focus, work, reading, exercise, all these things that require effort but yield genuine results, well, they're below that baseline. And because your mind wants to maintain that status quo, it's not going to drop all the way down here. It's too uncomfortable. And this is where the genuine progress is at. But through boredom, you're actually able to lower that level back down, right? Because again, when you're not stimulating yourself, your brain is literally just being forced to sit in that stillness, to sit in that boredom, right? And through sitting in that boredom, your dopamine is going to naturally drop and naturally drop and naturally drop until it's below this stuff down here. And the beautiful thing about that, the beautiful thing about your dopamine level baseline being down here is that all of this stuff that brings you genuine progress, it starts to seem fun. Because in comparison to just sitting and doing nothing, oh, that focus work seems very interesting. Oh, I actually want to read this book now. Oh, I actually want to go get something done. Again, because you rewired your brain through controlling boredom, through implementing boredom into your life, to where now all of that high stimulation stuff just doesn't seem as interesting anymore. When you could do something that brings you genuine progress, that brings you genuine growth, and builds you into the person that you're trying to become. Again, ultimately, this will force your brain to lower its stimulation threshold, and it will stop that loop that we identified earlier. The scroll, check, open, that loop that puts you on autopilot, that puts you in this negative spiral that ends to you ultimately ruining your life, right? It'll take you completely out of that, right? This boredom tolerance is mental toughness. When you're able to be bored and you are mentally tough, you're going to be able to resist the urge to scroll, to go on these websites, right? Netflix, YouTube, all that stuff that's just wasting time. You will resist that urge and you will genuinely get the work done. Step 3 is exercise. Now, this is very important. You need to move your body because exercise will naturally increase that dopamine, will naturally boost your dopamine, and in a good way because it requires effort, and again, dopamine is like that motivation chemical. When you're boosting that dopamine, you're going to want to work out more. And exercise not only helps your body, it helps your mind, it helps your focus, it helps your clarity, right? Doing all of these things, right? It's going to help regulate your brain chemistry. That means no more anxiety, no more brain fog, no more restlessness. You're going to be dialed in. You're going to be focused. You're going to be genuinely accomplishing the things that you need to do in order to achieve your goals. And it doesn't have to be something crazy like 2, 3, 4 hours in the gym every single day, pumping iron, right? It can literally just be 20 to 30 minutes a day, right? That's all it takes. It'll get your brain right. It'll help you lock in. It'll help you stay focused. And then you'll naturally start to make progress toward achieving the life of your dreams. Understand that movement is medicine for your focus, which means you cannot skip it. If you skip medicine, you're going to get sick. You're going to fall back into old habits. Oh, my phone's right here. It's time to scroll Instagram reels for the next 5 hours. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I scrolled for 5 hours. I lost so much time. Well, my day's already over. I'll just keep scrolling, right? You don't want your days to end up like that. If you're watching this video, you don't want to end up like that. If you do, well, you might as well just leave. You're wasting your time, right? But essentially, through this, you are going to be able to regain that mental clarity, to regain that mental focus, that locked in feeling, that flow state that you are seeking. Step four is to do the hard, boring things first, right? Things like cleaning, journaling, deep work, meditation, the things that feel very difficult. And the reason this is so effective is because, again, of something called eating the frog, which we'll paint out, right? Now, eating the frog, right? So to paint this out, I want you to imagine that, Gordon Ramsay has prepared a beautiful plate of food for you, right? Now, on this food, you maybe got some chicken. Keep in mind, I'm no artist. It's a chicken leg, right? You got some cream spinach. It's one of my favorite foods. You got cream spinach. Get some steak on here, right? Lots of good food, right? Your favorite meals. I'm gonna throw in a potato because potatoes are great. Got a potato, right? But then, at the same time on the plate, you have a frog. Now, I'm not gonna draw that because I don't know how to. We'll just type it out. You have a frog on this plate. Now, I've got a question for you. Are you going to eat that frog first or will you eat it last? Well, if you decided to eat the frog last, then you made the wrong choice because now after you've eaten that, rather after you've eaten all the good food, right? Now you have to finish off with this slimy frog. It's going to leave the aftertaste in your mouth. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be a good experience. But when you eat that frog first, right, you get that slimy, nasty taste out of the way. Now you get to cleanse your palate with this nice steak and the chicken and the spinach and the potatoes. This is making me hungry, right? But essentially, you cleanse your palate with that good food, and it works the same way with your work. When you do the hardest task first, right? It gets that difficult thing out of the way. It gets that slimy, hard task out of the way. And then everything else you do subsequent to that, it's going to be easier, right? All the light level tasks, right? The check boxes, right? The metrics that you have to hit day in and day out to achieve your goals. That easy stuff that might be a bit boring, right? It's going to be a lot easier because, wait a second. Oh, I started the day off. I already did this completely very difficult thing. All right, cool. I'm going to just get this other stuff out of the way. And that's a successful day that you just had, which is why you always want to do the hard, boring things first. And not only does it make the later task easier, but it trains your brain to find reward in effort, not the escape, right? Because doing hard things, yes, is difficult, but what it does to your mental, what it does to your mentality, right? It allows you to enjoy the progress that you get from doing something difficult, to enjoy that feeling of growth, right? And this will rebuild your discipline through delayed gratification. Because yes, okay, I could do all the easy stuff first, or I could just do it later, right? Have that reward of, okay, now I got all the easy stuff to do, right? Again, it's delaying the gratification of getting things done as well, right? Because you get that hard thing done, and then those later tasks that you probably wanted to do first, right? Well, now it's delayed. Now you can feel the dopamine, right? Feel the glee of being able to get all of these easy tasks done. Checking a lot of boxes, getting a lot of things done. That feeling of genuine progress, right? You're able to feel that even better because you did the most difficult thing first, right? And again, hard things also rewire your reward system from junk to joy, right? Instead of seeking all this dopamine, social media, all this stuff that is wasting your time and deteriorating your brain, you start finding joy, genuine fulfillment in the things that bring you progress, genuine fulfillment in actually achieving your goals, right? And snacking these small wins daily is going to completely reset your dopamine to the point where now all you only want to do is work. You crave the work. You wake up excited to make progress towards your goals. Then step five is you want to eat clean and sleep deeply, right? Because processed food is going to destroy your dopamine production, right? Late nights are going to throw up your rhythm, right? Especially when you're waking up and going to sleep at varying times, right? It's going to be very difficult for you to, maintain that good level of dopamine that's going to allow you to achieve your goals. And again, sleep is when you restore that natural balance within your brain. When you're not sleeping, it's going to get crazy. It's not going to be fun, right? Sleep restores that natural balance, which is why this is something that is essential in achieving your goals and to finally reclaiming that focus that you so desire. Your body is the hardware, right? When it's fueled right, when it's maintained properly, well, your focus is going to improve. And when your focus improves, your progress improves. When your progress improves, you achieve your goals. And once you achieve your goals, then you can become the person that you are trying to be, right? Your life will just overall improve. So build a clean input routine, right? Sleep, whole foods, structure, the whole 9 yards. And once that is in place, not only will your focus be better, your clarity, your toughness, your physicality, everything about you is going to improve overall. Step 6 is you need to replace stimulation with creation, because understand just getting rid of the dopamine and then sitting in the boredom actually isn't going to be enough, because there's going to be a void that is that's going to enter inside, right? Now I'll explain this using a personal story, right? So the thing about stimulation, right, where all this mindless content, this mindless dopamine that you're consuming, right, it's currently filling this vacuum, right? And inside this vacuum there's TikTok, you know, you got Instagram, anime. What else is there? YouTube, Netflix, right? All these things that constantly drain your attention. And when you remove them all, right, just like a vacuum in space, everything on the outside is going to get sucked in, right? So now you're just going to have random other things that are going to come inside. And using myself as an example, right? When I first ended up, quitting social media, right, all the video games, instead of actually getting productive, actually getting things done, what I started to do was I started watching a lot of anime, right? Lots of anime. Some Netflix was in there. I was reading a lot of like manga and things like that. That's not how you spell Netflix. Right, a lot of these things, maybe they weren't as bad as playing video games and scrolling all day, but they weren't fully productive either, because again, I hadn't established something that I was going to do instead of scrolling, right? Which is why when you remove all of these things, you want to have something in place to replace it with, right? Creation, focused work, reading, because this is an attention void that is going to get filled whether you like it or not. So what you need to do is fill it with things that bring you progress, fill it with things that are productive. Content, writing, reading, right? Since you want to fill that void, fill the gap up with things that are productive, so it doesn't just get filled in with some other form of mindless dopamine, some other form of something that isn't really bringing you any progress, that isn't helping you achieve your goals, that isn't really getting you anywhere. So again, you can fill the void with things like writing, building, filming, designing, speaking to people, training your vocal, talking to friends, spending time with family, right? And even, a small post daily or a small journal entry is strong enough to shift your mindset, right? Strong enough to make that change, right? Habits start small, but once that momentum builds, the snowball effect, then your entire life is going to change, right? Over time, you'll start to crave that creation, crave that process of building towards the life of your dreams rather than consumption and draining that reality away from you, right? You become the source of value, not the seeker of dopamine. People come to you because they realize, oh my goodness, this guy's dialed in, this guy's locked in, this guy's focused. What does he got going on? What does he understand that I don't? I'm going to go talk to this guy and try and figure that out for myself. I want to see this reality, right? You become that source of value that people are able to go to, rather than, okay, yep, I'm, this scroller Joe, he wakes up, rolls out of bed, scrolls Instagram, doesn't get anything done, right? You don't want to be that guy. You want to be, productive, Pam. I don't know. I don't even know why I said that. You want to be productive. You want to be focused, right? And last, step 7 is you want to repeat this rewire ritual for the next 30 days, right? Again, a 1-day detox isn't going to fix 5 years of overstimulation. You need a complete lifestyle overhaul, not just one quick break, because again, you're going to fall right back into old habits and nothing is going to stick. So the first 7 days are the hardest, but that's when the clarity will click in soon after that, right? If you're able to get through that first 7 days, you're able to push through it, just grind through it, you have the systems in place to make that very frictionless, very easy, then everything is going to change for you. That clarity is going to kick in, the focus is going to kick in, you're going to start seeing the world in a different light, and you're going to start getting a lot done. Then you regain your attention span, you regain your drive, mental clarity, you'll be at peace, right? all of these things are going to begin to fall into place because, again, you were able to get past that 7 day period. And understand that this is the foundation of discipline, execution, and deep work, right? Once you have that solid foundation, there's nothing that you won't be able to accomplish. Now, here is exactly how I was able to build my own rewire ritual, right? My own story, right? I used to be someone who scrolled for hours, right? I'd be skipping workouts, feeling scattered, right? My focus would be all over the place, right? Anime and Netflix. I literally would not get a single thing done. Eventually, I got sick of the point where I was going. I was sick of the direction. I didn't like where I was heading. So I had to build a system that changed my dopamine sensitivity, right? I rebuilt it and everything began to change, right? I was able to install simple systems that allowed me to get daily wins, low stim rituals, and structure, which made it very frictionless, very easy for me to get to where I am right now with almost over 80,000, almost over 100,000 followers collectively across my platforms, right? Making my first money online, right? People are noticing me, right? It's a very stark change that has happened, right? And this is a system that I still use to this day, which is why I'm locked in. And I packaged it for others who were in the same spot as me. Right. So if you want to install this ritual yourself, well, click the first link in the description. Focus OS, it's the toolkit that I built to help you reset, rebuild, and stay consistent. Right. It has dopamine reset routines, focus rituals, and execution templates. Right. I'm not gonna spend too long on this. You guys already know this stuff. Right. Just no fluff. Just the structure that actually works. And the link is below. You can just DM me reset on Instagram if you want help applying this. Now, to conclude, right, understand that your brain is something that is worth the rewire. You're not lazy, you're simply overloaded. Once you cut out the noise, once you install the wins, once you rebuild the system, then there is nothing that you will be able to accomplish. Focus will be so easy that it will be impossible for you not to achieve your goals. Your focus is your future. Reclaim it. Start your reset today, and 30 days from now, you will not recognize the person that you become. That's all I got for today. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.